Greetings fellow snowflakes, yes this is part of my top 100 rock albums that are not metal. We're in the top 10 now, we're right near the top. I'm doing albums numbers 5 to 2 in this one. And if you want to know the rules of how this thing works and what gets included and what doesn't, then that's all explained in the first one of these, so go back and watch that. Yes, let's begin. Number 5 is Joy Division, Closer. Joy Division from Manchester, who, which is where I live. Yeah, and this album was 1980. Joy Division are post-punk, and they're very melancholy and they're very trippy. Especially on this album, it's quite trippy at times. I actually used to listen to... I had a friend who was really into Joy Division a friend who I used to do LSD with back when I was very much younger than I am now. And yeah, we did sometimes listen to Joy Division on acid. They are quite trippy, but in a dark, paranoid kind of way. But yeah, very melancholy. Obviously, Ian Curtis committed suicide, so that's where a lot of the melancholy and the lyrics comes from. But I mean, the music's very melancholy anyway. It's moody, post-punk, it was influential on gothic rock. This album is a lot more electronic than Unknown Pleasures, which was much more guitar oriented. There's a lot more in the way of keyboards on this album. Yeah, and the first half is brilliant, especially A Means to an End, I think. There's a track Colony on here, which there's a track on Unknown Pleasures called Wilderness, which is about the witch trials, I think. Which not in the Middle Ages, it was actually early modern times when those things happened. But yeah, you've got another album here, another track on here called Colony, which is another track about Christians being assholes, I guess, in historical times. This with regards to colonialism, I guess. Yeah, because it's got that line, you know, God in His wisdom made me understand. God in His wisdom took me by the hand in this colony. But yeah, it's really the second half that shines so brightly. You've got Heart and Soul. Dun 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 dun. Very good track. 24 Hours, which is crushing. I mean, as someone who's suffered from depression, this is about depression. So this is permanent, love shattered pride, and all this. I can't remember all the words, but it's crushing, devastating stuff when you actually listen to and engage with the lyrics. I've found it very cathartic and very helpful with regards to a lot of my depressions. Unfortunately for Ian Curtis, yes. Anyway, and then The Eternal, which is it's like a funeral march of a song. Very atmospheric. The tinkly piano in it as well as the and just like do 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 do. It's beautiful slice of just sorrow. It's just almost meditative sorrow. It's a beautiful track. And then you've got Decades at the very end. Very trippy kind of song. Sort of reminds me of what I was doing with that friend of mine, taking acid. Both of us suffered from depression quite a bit actually, and some of our trips were a bit weird. And you have these, sometimes you have trips that aren't so much bad trips as sad trips. And it's a very creepy, weird feeling when you get on that state of mind. And yeah, just the lyrics of this and just the feel of the music, because it is a very trippy track really, does definitely make me think of that. Yeah, here are the young men. It's like a warning to parents, you know, what are your kids getting up to? Here are the young men, the weight on their shoulders. And it's got all that stuff about something about hell's darker chambers, and we open the doors for our wandering, open and slammed and shut in our face, and it's a brilliant track. It just is. So that's Joy Division's Closer. Number 4 is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, 1973. Prog rock, I guess Pink Floyd are. Brilliant album, about a concept album, it's often called, about all the things in life that can drive you mad. It's about life and death and insanity and everything, money, violence, everything's in there. It's about life. And there's lots of little snippets of people talking. You know, they were interviewed. I think all of the road crew and all the production team, just everyone involved in the album. They interviewed all these people with all these big questions about life and meaning and death and all that. And those snippets appear on the album of people talking about these things, and it just that really adds to it as well. It is, of course, a genius masterpiece of an album, and it's beautiful throughout, and very deep and meaningful, very intelligent, very atmospheric, very awesome. The big highlight is, of course, Time is a great track. Great Gig in the Sky, with that, which is just instrumental with the vocals, wordless vocals. I guess not technically instrumental then, is it? But there's no words to it, except for the snippets of interviews. But just very atmospheric track with that vocal, like a cry of desperation and pain to God, presumably. It almost seems to be suggesting to a God that's not even there, really. That's what I get out of it anyway. But yeah, Great Gig in the Sky is great. Money, of course, great track. Us and Them, beautiful. Brain Damage, Any Colour You Like is great instrumental. Every track is great on it. Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, for God's sake, it's a classic. Own it. Number 3, The Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. 1967, the peak pinnacle of trippy psychedelic music from the late 60s. The Beatles doing their weird mix of trippiness and, you know, studio experimentation and bits of brass in there, and along with their kind of rock stuff, and it's just awesome. Of course, I mean, who doesn't know Sgt. Pepper? It's a brilliant album. My parents had this album. My mum had this album in her collection, and I got into it as a kid. Then I was listening to this at like 7 or 8 years old, and you know, long before I was doing any of the things that inspired this album. But it's brilliant. It's just brilliant. It's the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper, Lonely Hearts Club Band, and yeah, these days it tends to be more fashionable to say that Revolver's better or whatever, but Sgt. Pepper will always be the one. It's just out there, and I like that. I like weird out there music, and I mean, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Fixing a Hole, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, the brilliant sitar-y kind of spiritual enlightenment track that is Within You Without You, thanks George Harrison. But yeah, I love that as well. Lovely Rita's fun and cool. You get the reprise of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and of course Day in the Life, which is amazing. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, what else can you say? It is brilliant. And number 2, Drones by Muse. Yes, I know it's perhaps a bit daft and a bit annoying how these days, with what I've been going through in recent years, with grappling with and learning and struggling to accept that I'm a transgender woman, that I relate so much of media, not just music, but things I watch and stuff as well, with my own issues with regards to being trans and stuff, and I'm reading gender and trans things into everything. And the 2 highest albums on this list I've done this with, and in both cases this is music created by cisgender men, so how can it be about being trans? But we all do this. We have something that we're going through in our lives, very powerful, very important thing, that we need to find outlets to express what we're going through with, and we associate the things that we enjoy, whether film and TV or whether music, with these things. This is how art works. We all do this. We all find personal meanings in things that, of course, have nothing to do with perhaps what the artist intended. Doesn't matter. It's still valid, and it's still valid to talk about it. And yeah, Muse Drones, I did actually a video specifically talking about this, so perhaps I don't need to go into details about it here. But yeah, to me, I mean, you've got 2 things going on. We've got relationship stuff going on, and you've got war shit going on. And it seems to me that the war is, for me anyway, symbolic of like the battle of the sexes, because it does tie into the relationship stuff if you listen to the lyrics. And the relationship stuff is about all struggling with gender roles in relationships and stuff. And it's just, for me, it was about gender, and about my frustrated, dysphoric feelings around gender, and about me like coming out and being myself and fuck all that shit that society tries to put on me and tell me I should be. So to me that's what Muse's Drones is about. Muse and Genesis have been two of the bands in recent times which have uncannily provided a lot of music for me to relate to with regards to being transgender. Even though, as I said, it's music made by cisgender men, so how can it really be about that? And yeah, those two artists are numbers 2 and 1 on this list. Yeah, this is the highest Muse album on the list. Drones, it's brilliant. I love it all the way through. I probably always will. That's all there is to it, really. That's it for this time. Thanks for watching. It just leaves the number 1 album to talk about, and I'm going to do a video talking just about the album, because I want to do what I did with Muse a year or 2 ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. And go in detail about how I associate the music on that album with being about being transgender. So anyway, there's that number 1 to go. Thanks for watching.